If the sun disappeared right now, you wouldn't notice immediately. No alarms would go off, no explosion would happen, nothing would demand your attention, and that's exactly what would make this event so deadly. For about 8 minutes, life on Earth would continue as usual, people working, driving, living, but when the world finally realized something was wrong, it would already be too late. Because in this scenario, danger doesn't begin with chaos, it begins with silence. When those 8 minutes ended, there would be no sunset. The light would simply vanish. The sky would turn black in the middle of the day, and stars would appear instantly. The sun doesn't just light Earth, it defines time, routine, and normality itself. Without it, everything loses reference. If this idea is already making you uncomfortable, it's because these questions change how we see the world. Many people who enjoy thinking this way usually stick around for that reason. But darkness wouldn't be the biggest problem. The moment the sun vanished, its gravity would disappear with it. And that means Earth would no longer be held in place. Our planet would stop orbiting and move in a straight line through space, thrown out of the solar system without anyone feeling it happen. Everything would feel normal beneath our feet. But on a cosmic scale, Earth would already be doomed. And this is only the beginning of what truly destroys everything. At roughly 67,000 miles per hour, Earth would become a rogue planet, drifting alone through interstellar space. There would be no shaking, no winds, no obvious sign that the planet had been torn from its original path. Everything would feel normal on the ground, but on a cosmic scale, Earth would be lost forever. Without the sun, there would be no return, no course correction, and no second chance. We would be heading into absolute unknown territory. Meanwhile, temperatures would begin to drop rapidly. In the first few hours, it would feel like an unusually cold night, but within days, the global average temperature would fall below freezing. Without the sun's constant energy, Earth would start losing heat to space irreversibly. Within weeks, lakes and rivers would freeze. Within months, even parts of the oceans would begin forming thick layers of ice on the surface. Plants would be among the first victims. Photosynthesis depends entirely on sunlight. Without it, energy production in plants would simply stop. Forests would die within days. Agricultural fields would disappear quickly. And when plants die, the entire food chain collapses. Herbivores would lose their food source. Carnivores would lose their prey. The impact wouldn't be immediate for everyone, but it would be inevitable for everything. It's important to understand something here. This wouldn't be a fast, instant extinction event. Humanity wouldn't disappear in a single day. In fact, the first days could deceive many people, creating a false sense of adaptation. But every passing hour would make survival harder. Infrastructure would fail. Power grids would collapse. Global logistics, already fragile, would quickly disintegrate under extreme temperatures. If you're still following along, you've probably realized this scenario isn't just about cold and darkness. It's about time, about decisions, and about how poorly humanity reacts when it believes it still has control. Many people who enjoy this kind of reflection choose to follow content like this for that exact reason. But now we reach an even more troubling point, because cold wouldn't be Earth's greatest enemy without the sun. Even without the sun, Earth's core would remain extremely hot. That internal energy could support small, habitable areas for a limited time. This would open the possibility of underground shelters, subsurface cities, and heavy reliance on geothermal energy. In theory, humanity could survive for decades or even centuries in controlled environments. But that survival would come at a massive cost and would depend on nearly perfect decision-making. The problem is that surviving is not the same as thriving. Without the sun, there would be no large-scale agriculture, no complete natural cycles, no fully functioning ecosystems. Everything would be artificial, limited and temporary. Each generation would be born into a smaller, darker, more restricted world than the one before. Survival would stop being an achievement and become a silent countdown. Over the centuries, another terrifying process would begin. Earth's atmosphere would start to freeze. First, water vapor would solidify and fall like snow. Then carbon dioxide. Given enough time, even oxygen could condense. The sky as we know it would disappear. Without a functional atmosphere, the planet's surface would become completely hostile to life. At that point, any remaining life would be confined to underground pockets, surviving on limited energy and increasingly scarce resources. There would be no wind, rain, or sound on the surface. The planet would become a silent, frozen, dark desert. Earth would still exist physically, but it would no longer be a living world. It would be just a rock drifting through space, carrying traces of what was once a home. The inevitable question emerges: would humanity truly survive? Maybe for a while, maybe for a few generations. But without the sun, there is no stable future, no real growth, only maintenance, adaptation, and constant loss. Human history would become a continuous attempt to delay the inevitable as resources shrink and options disappear one by one. This is where the scenario stops being purely scientific and becomes existential, because it reveals how much our survival depends on something we rarely think about. The sun has always been there, stable, reliable, invisible in our daily lives. And maybe that's exactly why we underestimate its importance. We only truly understand the value of something when we imagine a universe where it no longer exists. If this kind of question makes you see the universe differently, you're probably interested in exploring more scenarios like this. Many people follow this kind of content because it changes how we perceive reality. But we're not done yet, because there's one final detail that makes this scenario even more disturbing, something almost never mentioned when discussing the sun's disappearance. Without the sun, the concept of time would completely change. Days and nights would cease to exist. Calendars would lose meaning. Biological rhythms would collapse. The human body relies on light cycles to regulate hormones, sleep, and behavior. Even in artificial environments, maintaining that balance would be incredibly difficult. Survival wouldn't be just physical, it would be psychological. And that challenge would be just as dangerous as the extreme cold. Internal conflicts would become inevitable. Limited resources, confined spaces, and generations born without ever seeing the sky would create constant tension. Deciding who lives, who gets energy, and who has access to safer shelters would become a political and moral issue. Humanity wouldn't just be fighting the universe, but itself. And historically, that's a battle that rarely ends well. Over time, even the memory of the sun could become abstract. For generations born underground, the sun would be just a story, an ancient concept described in books and digital records. The idea of blue skies and natural warmth would seem almost mythical. Humanity would still exist, but deeply disconnected from the world that created it. And all of this would happen because of a single event, the disappearance of one star. This scenario makes it clear that Earth is not an isolated, self-sufficient entity. It's part of a delicately balanced system. When a central piece disappears, the entire system collapses. No matter how advanced technology becomes, some dependencies simply cannot be replaced. Thinking about this scenario isn't about fear, it's about perspective. It forces us to recognize how unlikely and fragile life as we know it truly is. Every sunrise, every ordinary day, every mundane routine depends on cosmic processes we rarely appreciate. The sun isn't just a distant star. It's the silent reason Earth is alive, and not just another inert object in space. If the sun disappeared, the universe wouldn't react. There would be no correction, no warning. The cosmos would continue indifferent, and maybe that's the most uncomfortable part of all. Life on Earth is extraordinary, but it's not essential to the universe. We are passengers in a much larger system, sustained by forces that don't care about our existence. That thought leads to an inevitable question. If something this fundamental can disappear without warning, what else in the universe depends on invisible balance? How many things we take for granted exist only because multiple unlikely conditions remain aligned? The sun is just one example. The universe is full of silent failure points. And maybe that's why scenarios like this attract us so strongly. They remind us that reality isn't fixed or guaranteed. It's temporary, conditional, and often fragile. Imagining the sun's disappearance isn't about pessimism. It is about better understanding our place in the cosmos and how rare it is that we are even here right now. If you've made it this far, this scenario probably stayed with you in some way. It doesn't offer comfort, but it offers clarity. And many people who enjoy this kind of reflection choose to follow this content to keep exploring these questions. Because the universe still holds many unsettling possibilities, some even more dangerous than the complete absence of the sun. This brings us to one final disturbing question. What if the sun didn't disappear, but only changed slightly? A little hotter, a little colder, a small shift, almost unnoticeable. Because sometimes it's not total disappearance that destroys everything. It's subtle changes that go unnoticed until it's too late.